Scene. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Koch. We're here with Destiny O'Connor as the MC and hosts for Deaf in the Cloud. I'm here in this beautiful place. It's sunny out, a rare sunny day here in Seattle, but we are expecting rain for a few days straight. So I'll go ahead and turn it over. Hey, everyone. My name is Destiny O'Connor. I'm co-chair for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group and also a full stack web developer. I'm here to learn more about machine learning and AI and introducing the other folks on the call for Science Speak. And we also have a little bit of, I guess we should say, a background here. I work for Slalom, which is a consulting firm. There's a lot of AI work and Gen AI work that's been coming into the picture with the various chat capabilities and products that are having intelligence added to them, or as we call intelligent products. So I did a talk at a big Amazon Web Services reInvent conference about Gen ASL using sign with machine learning to be able to pick up sign language and vice versa. It always seemed to me that the most successful portion of what we've seen is spelling to sign with avatars. I'm kind of curious to see more of the other direction and if machine learning and AI could recognize that in the opposite way. So kind of fascinated with that. We're going to turn it over to our guests here. We have Ryan and so it's Ryan Hait-Campbell, I believe, and Jeff Shaul. Hello to both of you. Now, I guess I'll turn it over so you guys can give yourself a brief introduction, and then we can start our conversation with AI. So go for it, Ryan. Hey, everyone. My name is Ryan Hait-Campbell. I am a co-founder of GoSign.AI, and my partner here, Jeff Shaul. Hey, everyone. Jeff Shaul here. I'm the co-founder and head of technology for GoSign.AI. My background is basically biological information and data in having an interest in helping apply signing data. The key to AI kind of here with this data is a big topic of discussion, and that will be what we're discussing today. Yeah, a little more background about myself. Jeff is saying I have worked for program leads for several different things, kind of a little bit of a side business as well, and excited to get into the technology. So I'm curious to start here. How or your company, GoSign.AI, basically what it's here for and kind of the niche of it or use cases for filling in those gaps there. Yeah, sure. So Ryan here. So it started a few years back. My old company, founded in Rochester, New York, RIT, and so Rochester Institute of Technology, and it was up and running for about 6 to 8 years, but ultimately it failed. The reason behind that is was the data. We kind of learned the hard way from being able to change what happens with that data, and most of those pain points were cost related. And it seems there's kind of been some various methods of technology with different organizations out there pay for being in front of the camera for 40 hours a week signing things and getting people paid for that process that I experienced myself on paying students to sit there and do that for us. So there was a high overhead with that, and we tried to figure out kind of the processes to how to scale that up at a bigger level. And ultimately, we decided we didn't have enough of that. So me and my team tried to figure out how to reduce the cost and then being able to support other AI companies. So you know, us ourselves are not an AI company, but we're here to support other AI companies in that. Also, Jeff here, I'd like to add with that, signing all of that data, we kind of want to make that experience for the user more fun instead of just sitting in front of a camera signing. So we were trying to figure out how to do that, and we noticed that we could do that approach through gamification. So make it a more of a challenging type game, change that sort of mindset and the psychology where you can earn awards and badges, and therefore making people more excited about being able to do that. So that was kind of our concept there. So did you already have customers who were doing sign recording, storing the data, and then selling that to customers out there? Or was it, I'm just kind of wondering how making money to help make a living, obviously everyone needs to make a living. So yeah, just curious about that. We did have um, somewhat of an understanding of AI and kind of like building models and being able to, pay consumers to use that. But if, not having any revenue right now, that's kind of number one in the process of our product building. And so we go over the customer, for their intent to get this going and being able to have a data broker where we can, sell to other organizations that could use that and grow their technology to meet the deaf community's needs. Nice. Yeah, and I'd like to add also one of the challenges we had in the signing data, there's a lot of public, out there. Um, there's ASL bits that are related to Microsoft, and there's some great resources out there, but the licensing, we didn't have access to promote that through the licensing issues. So having that with issues, being able to fill in the gaps within the market, and also to add the trend here, most of the companies' approaches and their problems are decided to be in, there's nothing wrong with companies hosting their own data and not sharing with others, but because of that, IP and the cost to develop that and the AI, again, there's a lot of different companies out there that are using the same data or developing new data. And so there's kind of a conflict of resources there. So if we have a company where we're sharing the data there, instead of setting up each individual siloed data, if we could combine that all together, not necessarily like motivated to profit out of that, but then everyone could access that and making it a bridge for others to have better customer journeys and not just owning the data independently. The delivery mechanism to the market there, that would be a win. So when you're collecting the data, then what aspect of the data are you collecting? Is it personal side of things? Obviously, some of that, with the signing. What other kind of like collecting different background information behind you? Sure. Yeah, I can answer that. So the goal here is to create kind of a realistic representation of kind of that whole um, language. So being able to pull out a lot of those different aspects of the language from isolated sign, like Apple, for example, or being able to do a higher level structure, like classifiers, like a car going this way, for example, by a tree, and the tree's going by. That kind of is a very different approach from the isolated sign that I mentioned before. So more of a 3D concept there. So we're trying to use and collect prompts like if you say, hey, can you sign this sign for Apple? Maybe they'll use a sign like this, Apple or Apple. It depends on the region and the location of the signer. Maybe if they're eating cereal, And there's a lot of different things here that we want to be able to respect the diversity within the signing. Also, we have other challenges related to collecting the video data. There's one camera, so it's more of a monocular kind of view, like one eye maybe doesn't show the 3D information that we want to try to start ramping up on, and being able to augment that 3D part coming into the video. So we have these different views. So maybe that's like in front of or behind that, like I just signed now. This is really kind of hard to see sometimes in that video data. So we're really just doing a lot of efforts to improve the you know, current 3D video technology there and the nuances there. We also have a lot of, video that's being signed and from the data from Google, and maybe, you want to pull out something specific, like those media pipelines is pretty cool technology that's been out for a few years, that what Google's been working on. So the media pipeline is pretty great as far as like seeing the different visuals on the computer and trying to assign the X, Y, Z axis and points for that. So you can see those different things there will become a little bit more of a landmark for that XYZ approach. So having kind of that XYZ access points, making it more 3D looking, but we do have a challenge related to that that I could elaborate on if you'd like. Oh yeah, Destiny, did you want to add something? I was just saying that going back to what Rob had mentioned about different colors, different backgrounds, different genders, skin types, how that is different with the culture, as well as, having the different facial expressions, capturing that language, skin color, like I said. Will 3D have any addition to that improvement, or would it be more challenging? If you could elaborate on that for a little bit, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, sure. So the variation and the diversity is really important. Where we're approaching that is doing, there's a variety of broadcasts out there and different media types and using different backgrounds, different signing styles, different upbringings. So Ryan, I don't know if you wanted to add something here. Yeah, thank you. So um, there's, there's a lot of things going on out there with running there's another company in, the search world. Is that what it's called? Search world? Okay. Yeah, so search world, that their business here that's been around for a while. They've been partnering with various folks to they have an app that's like 72 countries included so far. So there's already 18 languages embedded in that. And so, for example, all of our uh, reach getting out there in different areas, different language, different facial expressions, like you were talking about, Destiny. So there's different, row foundations and different things in place. AI is not mature enough, but other companies have been looking into these type of things. So being new, being able to provide and leverage that, how we can bring different views from all over the world and kind of funnel that in. So that's kind of what we're looking at to solve here as well. Some other organizations out there that have, um, you know, paid services to, fix some of these things that can be a problem. And so we focus more on like the harder challenges with the AI development there. Yeah, as you mentioned before, it's kind of a open to all, collaborative, being able to access all of this market, that culture, that, what everything that is there, you can remove what you're not using if it's coming from the raw source. Yeah, and several years ago, things were being changed in the tooling for that journey. I was it was a hard lesson learned because the community, wasn't involved there. And maybe yes, maybe no. But the example, as like automated captioning on videos and things like that, 80% of it maybe is right, but the rest of it, we just tolerate. We understand what they're trying to say, but that with the signing videos, it must be 99.99% right all the time. No flexibility. It can't be like 60, 70, 80%. It can't be, that we can't release that type of stuff. So it is a challenge that any organization is working with that we see right now. So different examples are out there of making things a little simplified, but where you could have, like, if you're asking for a hamburger, you can say, okay, sure, you can use that technology, but uh, you know, I want to have it this way or that way, or be more specific on how you're signing it. Maybe, maybe not, but there's some things there with the accuracy that we need to keep going, and especially if it's like in real time. Um, maybe instead of 30 seconds, it's a minute, and things like that. So when you're doing recording and you have some people messaging and signing like Apple, right? You're recording the full sentence. I'm eating an apple, and then I go to pick up something. So when you're recording that full sentence, or is it like the individual words? Sure, thank you for asking. So with this, there's two different classifications of data. We have isolated signs, just Apple, that's it. That's called isolated sign. Whereas I'm going to the store to buy an apple to eat, that is continuous level. So right now we're focusing only on isolated signs. The reason is we want to validate our hypothesis that you'll be able to use gaming technology to recruit a lot of different users from different countries and get them all in one place to kind of get that data likeness, all the variations in all the videos. For the full language, the full sentence, that will be something that we would like to implement later, but we're not doing that at the moment. Yeah, and to add here, like right now, since there's these new videos coming in, the total financial costs on principal would only be $70 so far. And so I want to explain a little bit more how that works as well. So if you download our app, you have like a weekly prize. You can sign, and the more signs that you do, the more chance to win first, second, and third prize. So there's a weekly difference for the amount, but we just started this little while ago. And so there's a place where you can, get like $20. Second place winner gets $15. Third place winner gets $10, something like that. So every week there's a paid amount if you win. So all of those videos we've done up to $72. That in the past, I remember, I'd be like paying, higher amount or whatever to students. And so that is kind of where we're having a breakthrough with our costs, I believe. No other organization can max our breakthrough with that, matching that. So we're working on that right now and trying to convince other businesses or how we can help them reduce their costs in the same way. So how many would you say, how many hours do those people play games for, watching them or using your app? Sure. So that the average user stays on the app no more than about 15 minutes, but it's really important that we have the volume of users. So I really want to, not just have like one person signing. That's impossible to have that diversity level that we're looking for. So we want to see, like the eating cereal this way versus eating cereal that way. And so being able to expand that, each session might be like 2 or 3 minutes, and that will all add up over time. So we really have a big belief in those little those little small wins that will eventually benefit to continue developing that. And how many hours total so far do you think we have? Yeah, sorry, um, no, that's fine. So yeah, 72 hours if you add up all of the video, about 70 hours so far. Yeah, what's interesting there, in my opinion, I don't think that's much. It's not, but when we're looking at, for example, um, the Microsoft Open project that we were talking about earlier, there's about 80,000 signs so far. So maybe, 50 hours and other videos and things like that that are out there. There's a lot. So, um, but like I love using this example with Apple Siri on your phone. Everybody just can speak that audio file is going to the Apple server. And so you can imagine that pipeline. There's a lot of things every day. People are using that. And, the amount of data is quite small, like size wise. And so I feel like if, everybody's using that with in regards to KPI, it's closer to that, like, yeah, over 2 years. I mean, that would add up to be a lot. Um, so yeah, right now I think we're having, you know, a fair amount of users, and it's not really about that. We would like to have the diversity within the countries coming in for, 15 minutes playing it, leave. Um, you know, we want it to be a little bit more diverse and as diverse as possible. So a little kind of off point, but I'm wondering if it's possible to focus on the game if you could make a living with that, just throwing out a bunch of signs. Yeah, so it's interesting because several years ago with my old company, they paid people to sign in front of a camera and gave them, a job on the side, but two big flaws with that model. First of all, most of the money came from venture capitalists. So venture capital coming in there, meaning the investors are investing to pay folks to gather new data. But in reality and how a business runs, it's not going to be, all venture capital. Some of it is going to be bootstrap, like we call ourselves bootstrap. We've come up so far with a lot of that. So kind of how that, you're paying people to do that. It's not sustainable. The concept of paying for signing um, is kind of forced in that way. So it comes from investors, that money to cover. It's funny if you raise like, 600,000, but you burn through all that money and you still can't afford, like looking back at it, this AI success here really to help with hearing companies catching up and trying to figure out how they can scale that. So, with Apple is not paying people to use Siri, right? So with Siri, it's just there and people are using it, right? Exactly. So I've struggled with that a little bit. So it's like kind of that fine line. In one way, yes, but also the form of a job in another way, not necessarily. That venture capital was coming up, it's kind of a temporary thing to kind of set everything up and building that kind of career from there. We were struggling with that. So things we've already tried in the past. So now with round two, we've decided to take a different approach. We are understanding the audience, and most of our users understand for first, second, third place winners. They're not signing for the AI tool necessarily. It's just giving that kind of mindset that we're riding on, if that answers your question. Yeah, I've always worked in data engineering and things of that nature. We're always talking and emphasizing about data being new oil or data being equivalent to gold and these different commodities. So that's where AI is coming into, or that's where your GoSign AI is coming in. um, with data being as big as it is, the challenge for any company, even hearing companies out there, maybe they're working with travel agents, or they're booking a cruise or an airline ticket, and they need that data to kind of predict what people will buy in the future or what they'll sign up for in regards to that. And is a lot of data, uh, a sheer number of data. The more they have, the better accuracy they have with those predictions. So where you said 70 hours worth, that's that's a long process, a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, and to add, there's some other companies out there that uh, have different like if you were talking about the different things here in the data dump, having all of that there owned by investors doesn't mean it's equivalent to a company that would, have the successes or failures related to the data because it might be more of a black hole. So really trying to find that middle ground where you can bring data in that's ready and available for, doing some research on my own data. For example, Jeff found an organization that he'd reach out to purchasing the data, but, it felt like it wasn't um, necessarily the quality there. So looking around and trying to figure out, you know, having the more specialized companies versus the ones that are having issues collecting and the AI development. They're two very different problems. So companies are trying to solve for both. Destiny, do you have any other questions? I have another one, but I want to check with you first. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So your message before Apple and collecting signed data. Um, so with that, yeah, so I can explain that. Okay, let's see. So yes, some are, and for example, Intel is partnered with, some other companies that I absolutely love, and have some breakthrough technology there that's coming one way or another. So it's really exciting to look at. There's a few others, but not enough organizations out there, in my opinion. They're trying to count, on one hand, basically, and that's it. So we need a lot more organizations to attack that problem. So this company's hope is to collect that data as well for the signed data and sort of be wanting to see that. So yeah, it's a complicated topic. Yeah, some companies are new, but for those, whereas some are as well, distributing that information. Like we mentioned with Google, they've recently had a competition for some really cool things going on. Their end goal is to distribute that knowledge to the public. Like Microsoft, similar. There's some different programs that they are hosting, and all the data is out there in the public. There's pros and cons to that too. Um, in my opinion, there's a lot of pros, but if you have an open source outlet there, the challenge is it might not be enough. Like we were saying, 70 hours is not enough, right? And the licensing, right? And if you're crowdsourcing the language, you have to show, it's not bringing enough data in the past. So we need, 10 or 20 more companies to be doing that to get the hours that we would need. So that's kind of the method that I'm seeing here. And how are others, or how can others like us help collect that data? So other strategies out there, maybe thinking about pursuing things other than gamification. Are there other strategies that could be implemented, or what are your thoughts? Yeah, so gamification is very varied pathway. It's not full, it's test in process and things are getting matured over time. But gamification helps us giving a lot of feedback for the product. We can see how we can improve that experience for the users and make it more enjoyable and, kind of seeing how that will impact others. Yeah, and I would like to add too, we want to also to have different active language where people would have the knowledge of the context of their own language and then have that to help create the networking side of things. Maybe they know someone knows that language and culture versus, then that could be driving us to develop and improve our app. One thing I'd like to add to Jeff is that one user, I believe in Mexico, I might be wrong, but was looking for something like there's this sign for Mexico, and there are language ambassadors for kind of fact ruling our system. So making sure the right words are being used, the right language style and everything. Yeah, exactly. The famous computer science and data science there, these things that happen. So that's a kind of a common phrase that we want to make sure that we have high quality data as well as things that are related to it as well. And to add, really, most of our users so far, you know, they see these things and they don't know necessarily how to frame with the right lighting, so the video doesn't turn out as great. That's where we have to go back to the onboarding process, have a little bit better instruction of how to record your video. And that's why we haven't really partnered with a business organization yet, but we wanted to figure out kind of how to do that. So there's some things there that we need to see. And so people are giving us good data. It's sometimes two people, it's interesting, right? Because an example of two people coming and they're we don't want to have that be allowed because then it's all of the video, the people may not be in the frame. So I think we need better instructions. So that will be a level of detail that we need to improve and tweak a little bit. So you can use machine learning on your end then to kind of clean up and add more lighting, maybe make the picture clearer. What about the camera in and of itself that people are using? So if you're using something to record, most cameras would be like 24, 28, 29 frames per second, right? So if you had a higher number, like 60, 70, 120 frames per second, like, a soap opera, maybe moving around, kind of it makes you a little bit nauseous sometimes when the frame speed isn't good? Or would you like to keep it with kind of your regular webcam capabilities? So yeah, the best device and the best camera that we already have is in our pocket, our phones, right? So you can't ask all the users to, hey, can you buy this special super fancy camera that we can handle, 120 frames per second? We can't ask our users to do that. So we have to work with what we have. And I think that if we're using machine learning to take that, video in 2D and then, know kind of that third dimension. But if we could augment that 3D information into the video, then we'll have a better variety of scenarios, things like this that, background and different lighting and out of the frame, siming that way. So, but those are real life situations that we have to compensate for and think about that. Yeah, and thinking about stuff in the past with different cameras and different things that, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. So like where your eyes are looking, like 3D printed phone versus like, something else. One of the things that I've learned there, scale. You get a point to where you're accessing what you already have, like you said, with the phones. But of course, in the future, we might have more fine tuning capabilities there. For example, if a customer says we need this, and this with the data. We say, okay, then we have to tweak that pipeline a little bit. If they want us to focus on food, and maybe they want 3 months worth of that, then we can tweak our gaming app to ask for different types of food for the input. So approach for our customers that to meet their needs. And if I can throw out there too, so you're using that game, and I do a lot of like, let's say the data, how some of the companies are asking kind of, what are you watching on Netflix? What are you buying on Amazon? What are you buying on that? So could you collect a little bit of data like that, $10, $20, $100 for that input of information? A lot of deaf people who already use TikTok, YouTube. Is there a way that they could put their video, like they've already had something signed, that content has already been developed on their different accounts? Or would that be too much of a conflict with the other companies like YouTube, TikTok, and all of those on social media? Like they're using their Instagram. Would they be able to input that? And would you be able to collect the data to get an idea of like what I could do for myself if I was just making, like if I wanted to make like $20 or something? I think from my perspective, with that, we'd have to get consent. Um, yeah. So so like downloading what you already have, for example. So like scrab and grab kind of a thing we might have done some might have done in the past, but the technology has improved there too. So um, with the concept of data mining, I look at that like mining data that's already out there, but that's very uncontrollable. You don't know what you're going to be getting. That's true. So things like data farming, if we're farming the data by controlling that consent in that particular situation, if you're socializing with the app, you can't force control that, like, you know, using this different area of framing that concept of being able to extract that and increase the participants. So that's kind of data farming concept there. But data mining, that's so variable. It's nice to have some additional level of control with that there. Second of all, people that are uploading their own videos, some of those things are licensing concerns again. Some websites have things that when you upload it, they own it. They own it after you upload it. So they have the rights to that. So there's different situations where I wouldn't want to necessarily have to manage that. I would prefer to keep it AI related and just go direct from user to the data. Okay, so first, before I have another question, but first, captioning related issues here. Someone changed it to Spanish. So if you could change that, it will pause the captions. So if you don't mind leaving that, thank you. That would be helpful. And then also, question, if the data is coming in, that's a lot of cost, right? So how are you managing that data where you're compressing it, or do you have cloud storage, or what's your approach to that? And how are you keeping the data safe? So if a company goes under, that's a lot of data that could be potentially lost. And, that's all of our gold is gone. It could be a huge loss. So is there a place that you're thinking about for the future if that potentially happens? So there's a lot of different questions involved with that one question. There's different concepts like data governance, all of that maintaining and how you keep it safe, how you keep it so that no one can access it and steal it. Also, another concept would be how to store the data in a cost-effective way. And I imagine that would be, I can answer that first, but using the concept of like AWS S3, the database essentially to store all that data in the different files, And so what we have that's pretty, easy to manage. We don't collect that much data, right? We only have 70 hours, right? So with our ability to scale up that to 700, 7,000, 7 million later, that could be a challenge. So we're just doing a variety of tech involved with that, compression, glacier storage. So you're putting your data on a quote unquote cold storage, um, on-prem, catching up with that. So having the storage and the thought process there, whereas the data governance, we have to think about the rules and regulations, and GDPR, and all of that is very strict with privacy laws. They have a lot of specific rules, like you must have a right to, speak to forget, and if you don't mind to forget me, meaning that all of my data is being deleted. So we have to honor that request if that were to come in. Also, reconsenting, meaning if you wanted to use data for different purpose than the original agreement, you would have to consent again. So that is a lot of requirements and requires a lot of complication and robustness for the continuation of managing what's been agreed upon, as well as that governance with governance concern. And then of course security and whatnot, sure. So for security, using both uh, complicated constructs and increments of things where um, that's happening where no one's listening in, and having that ability to do that within the file storage. It's already a conflict that's kind of key to seeing the different data points. Now, to answer your question about if a company folds and what we do with that data, we don't have an answer to that yet. Yeah, thank you for that. So NVIDIA has a program that some AWS credits can be used there. So if we're paying for data storage right now, thankfully, we have that working in our favor. Destiny, do you have any questions? I have so many questions, but I'm trying to find the right ones to ask. What's the best question? Let's see. So yeah, with NVIDIA and AWS credits and stuff like that, that's nice. It's spoken like a true AWS person with the data there and complying with six uh, six parameters of well-architected framework. So that's great. And great for the cloud advocacy. So thank you for that. What other questions do I have that would be, yeah, I kind of lost. Oh, right. You have coming up, selling the data to those various companies out there. Is that kind of going to be ongoing there, or is that too challenging to manage? So that'll be the next like 3 months for us now. I'm in the process of meeting folks and seeing what our best needs are for matching best for matching the customer's needs out there for these other companies. So it's kind of a case by case basis. I think that if we have, different Gen AI things and sign labs and things that are out there. So both interesting to kind of come in to incorporate that in the future, but we're looking at various labs. There's one in Israel that has avatar technology in their app. And so kind of it's not necessarily there, but it's to improve that onboarding experience, like I was saying, and also, explaining things in ASL versus English may not be their first language. So doing those different things for various concepts that they can enjoy using the app, and not that we're dismissing any of these other technologies, but just kind of coming into discuss that a little bit more, like with the avatar and the use of that, changing things to fit people's needs and develop that technology. So I would say probably they might be like a leader in that industry for that technology right now. So related to that question, actually, focusing on signing, ASL is very different than spoken English. So how to translate that with AI, the data collection, and you have the interpretation of the signs and the way an interpreter would sign versus a deaf person signing, and what about it, in the language and the avatar, knowing ASL, but how would you like notate that uh, for like if you have the signed notes for spoken English, would that be in the right order or would it change? Could you be able to change that to a different language? So yeah, I think I've learned my lesson from the past with that. It's good to separate those two problems, data collection being one and AI development being another. If anything new comes in, like AI development with the language, I have some answers, but that's a better question, I think, for these other companies that have seriously decided to take that problem on. Yeah, also, I think that we have to be able to give them what they need. So, as we say, these type of signs, having the ability to develop the data collection in a structured way that would meet their needs. For example, it's important to have some annotation and things out there that, like if I video myself, Apple, I need to have the notation then to describe that, um, what I'm actually doing, if it's right or left, and the demographic information there is important too. Yeah, that's a lot of work. There's probably more work to do with the annotations than the signs, right? Yeah, that's what we would be using like machine learning for, assisting in that process. Yeah, it's very interesting process, checking out the videos and it's not, um, you kind of have to work your way through it in that way. So it's kind of a tedious process. Yeah, so Amazon uh, also has a little bit of that machine. Yeah. So if you're looking at the video and you're cutting it there in each sign, and then you have to annotate, that would be quite tedious. Yeah, so yeah, I know that experience. Right, speaking of sign and gesturing, so let's set that aside. What if I'm really exciting, looking forward to Minority Report movie, if you've seen that, like how you can swipe away in your 3D space in front of you. Is there a place or a way to capture gestures where you could resell that to Microsoft, Google, Amazon, different companies out there that would benefit from that type, not only signs, but gesture-based communication? It's one of my really like fun examples of bringing up Minority Report for this type of a pitch. Really, the characters in that movie, being able to assist in the police investigations of things, and so signing like these different things we would go to learn that various data library out there for different companies to then use for their OS systems. I have a strong belief in the future of human interaction with computers is not at this level, but by far it's yeah, like natural language processing, yeah, and natural language use. So it could be that another organization out there, maybe a police department, wanted to use that technology for that type of use. So I feel like that could be, I'm really excited for the future of that as well. And I know that, you could have like a 15-minute conversation down to like a couple of minutes with stuff like that. My poor interpreter, having to do an expansion of what we're talking about. I love you. Yeah, I would like to add also, there is a lot of diversity in the language and different ways to express concepts, whereas English and written language would struggle to be able to do that kind of a concept. And I feel like sign language has a lot of offering for that in the future and for UIs and UX. The old example of that when we're talking about is the baseball. So that famous, maybe famous, the famous deaf player um, Dummy Ho a long time ago. He had a sign for out, and that's where that came from, and safe, safe. So that's kind of uh, integrated into the hearing culture. And by supporting sign recognition and translation, we're seeing that, I think, continue to come in the future and kind of integrate into all of it. Yeah, it's a big world. Hearing people are not, learning languages for various reasons, but interaction with others there. That's what reminds me, actually, I was reading a book called Deaf Benefit Deaf. Sorry, the interpreter missed that title. Gesturing and gesture-based communication. I would like to suspect, I don't know if it's true or not, but before human developed speech and vocal cords, we did do a lot of gesturing, and that's where an example of intelligence comes in, and then the voice came later. And so that means signing was there pre-voice. So if we go with that concept, now with the machine learning, AI, and voicing technology, things have improved a lot. And understanding my deaf voice, now I can speak into my phone and it can understand me, whereas like 5, 10 years ago, it didn't. So that's pretty impressive, but it's still hard to understand the signing portion of it yet. And that's kind of um, it's kind of an opposite example of the intelligence with the voice, right? Going back, even though signing and gesturing came first, after the machine learning is able to understand signing and gesturing and sign languages, then uh, will it become a different kind of an approach there? I'm curious to see. Yeah, so now, you know, 40 to 80 million, knowing sign language, deaf people, various things out there. 7 billion hearing people. So I'm looking forward to the day where hearing people have to learn sign language to, be more efficient and be able to communicate faster. So it would be interesting to see that in the future, if that, anywhere in the world, if it would be benefits to um, improve that communication and the technology with AI technology and the communities where we would be able to bring things in, communicate faster, and have that intelligence there. So that might look like ASL. Yeah, great. And with you all to here today. And yeah, please share. Okay. So somebody said when you're collecting sign language data, do you collect the facial expressions? Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. Facial expression and also, sorry, I can't finger spell today. Co things that are happening on your face and your mouth movements. It's all included. The concept of uh, holistic approach to that whole process, we do collect that, yes. Another one, Milan said face or uh, phones and iPhones, do those help increase um, that data there for the facial recognition, like your facial ID to unlock your iPhone, for example? Um, would collecting that data help? So we are not using so like that the facial ID and the recognition through Apple, that's their own technology, but we would like to improve our facial recognition portion, but we have to also respect the user's privacy. That's super important as well. So being able to have the concept of personalization and have that be kind of over like coming in, like creating a fake ID to kind of mask what the person's identification is in that situation. So, you could just go and rob a bank then if you were capturing that information and putting it as a cloak over your own. Yeah, it's kind of an end note for the audience. Focus on, that data collection portion of things and focusing on the AI development of things, kind of a bridge and figuring out uh, how we can figure out that solve for those problems in that way. And yet talking with them as part of a series, maybe we can get the conversation, continue this conversation that we've already started today. And so it's really a hot topic out there in the world right now. So it's really excited to be in this moment in technology where we're growing in this way. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a brave new world. So we'll close out for today. Thank you for joining, everyone. I have recorded this and I will upload it on YouTube, and then we can continue our conversation from there on the YouTube comments. So feel free to do that. And then, of course, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, where all four of us are on. So if you'd like to reach out, feel free, and we can keep this conversation going. Thank you both. Thank you so much for having us. Yeah. Thank you, Ryan and Jeff. Take care. Bye.